So we're actually in the process of collecting weapons that we think are going to pop off starting next week in Season 13. We're going to have a new sandbox. And even though it doesn't look like a lot is happening in the next sandbox, I really think there's going to be some differences, primarily in the fusion rifle department. They're getting a nice little buff to their range. Actually mentioned here in a previous TWAB, fusion rifle usage is very low, and they feel like an unreliable choice inside of Crucible compared to shotguns. So Bungie's actually going to be looking to increase fusion rifle damage fall off start distance based on the range stat itself. Actually a pretty ginormous buff considering we're going to get a 6% buff to our range at 0 range. Like every fusion rifle will receive this buff. But on the high end, for fusion rifles that have a lot of range, you can cap out at about 16% increase there in our range. Now there's a lot of fusion rifles I would love to talk about, and we're going to talk about it again as we approach this new sandbox, and most definitely when we're in the new sandbox. But exotic fusion rifles are going to see some major benefits. Not necessarily Jotun or Telesto, as those fusion rifles shoot projectiles themselves, so the range bump is not going to be noticeable because there's no damage fall off for either one of those weapons. Nothing that's noticeable inside of Crucible, that is. However, I do want to take a moment to actually look at a fusion rifle that's not just going to get the blanket buff, but also just be fixed, and that is actually Merciless. Oh man, when was the last time you saw this baby? Even though this weapon is looked at as a PvE fusion rifle, I cannot disregard how beautiful its stats actually are. If you have the exotic catalyst, which I believe drops from strike, somebody confirm that. If you got the catalyst, this actually kicks the range up to 81, which is quite ginormous. Also, it comes with the stability stat of 93 with the caddy. Now, stability, especially now, is just as important as range. And a lot of times I feel like we purely go for that one-hit kill. But there's a sweet spot when it comes to rolling your fusion rifles. Even though we like to put on some extra range, stability is really important in keeping those bolts tighter together, thus allowing us to land more consistent one-hit kills. Now, for something like Merciless, this is a 900 charge time fusion rifle. It also comes with the exotic perk Conserve Momentum. Non-lethal hits with projectiles make this weapon charge faster until its wielder gets a kill. Essentially, the charge time amps up significantly on this fusion rifle. However, Merciless has actually been bugged. It has not been working, but Bungie has stated that in the next sandbox, they're going to be fixing that issue that was preventing Merciless from increasing its charge rate on non-lethal hits. What makes Merciless such a nasty monster is that its damage doesn't dip when its charge time also dips. Think about any fusion rifle that you have with a charge time masterwork. Dropping that charge time, it's great and all, but for most other fusion rifles, this results in the damage per bolt actually dropping as well. This is how Bungie balances the two. Kind of sucks, to be honest with you, especially considering fusion rifles are nowhere near meta. They may be annoying, but they're not meta. What makes Merciless so nice is that it does speed up that follow-up shot, and it gets consistently faster and faster, but it doesn't actually drop your damage. Now, Merciless also comes with the trait Impetus, which states that reloading immediately after a kill increases weapon damage for a short time. Now, this is actually a 50% increase in damage for both PvE and for PvP. Now, put that in perspective, kill clip is 33%. It caps out at 33%. Used to be 50% inside of PvE, but Bungie wanted to consolidate those damage perks. What kind of slid underneath the radar was something like Merciless here that can still reach that 50% increase there in damage upon reloading after a kill. Now, something else that Impetus brings to the table is the duration it gives you after getting a kill and reloading. Most weapons with kill clip require about 2.5 to 3 seconds from the moment you get a kill to when you actually finish the reload animation to proc kill clip. For some reason, Impetus here has 4 seconds, and I actually think it was going a little past 4 seconds. I was approaching like 4.5. So there's a ton of ease of use there when it comes to proccing a perk that's even better than kill clip. Extremely nice, especially if you're dealing with high health targets. And I really think that next sandbox, our artifact might actually contain a mod allowing us to possibly stun champions with the fusion rifle. And considering that those artifact mods can be utilized with our exotics, Merciless might be in the best possible position for next week's sandbox. Now, I could talk about this weapon all day long inside of PvE, but let's talk about PvP. I was actually pleasantly surprised by by it, and I simply loaded it out just to give it a go, considering it's going to be getting a buff next week. What I did not realize was how consistent Merciless is already in this current sandbox. I've been so caught up on other fusion rifles, whether it's been Telesto, Bastion, Glacial Chasm, and in previous sandboxes, it was always air until. I had always looked over Merciless when it came to PvP, and I had primarily looked at Merciless as just a PvE only fusion. Boy, was I wrong. The kill range on this weapon can kill pretty consistently at 20 meters, but reaches up to 22 meters. Not bad. After next week's sandbox goes live, that range will probably bump up to about 25 meters, with consistent kill ranges being possibly 23 meters. Pretty nasty. But with something like Impetus, that damage actually jumps up from 49 damage per bolt to 73 damage per bolt. Now, that's a beautiful number for a couple of reasons. Number one, that means 3 bolts need to land in order to secure a kill on any Guardian, even max resilience ones. Just 3. And what makes 49 damage per bolt so good is that you only have to land 4 bolts, which has kind of been the sweet spot for years when it comes to fusion rifles. But 73 damage per bolt on Merciless allows this fusion rifle to kill consistently at 25 meters. And that range will probably go up to potentially 28 meters in the next sandbox. And again, I can't stress enough how much that stability helps. I've got Glacial Chasm completely loaded out with range, and it can get the one-hit kill 1 out of 10 shots at pretty good range. But Merciless has that level of consistency by having just base default range that's really high and that stability almost being max. And again, on many legendary fusion rifles, we like to rock out things like counterbalance mods to make the weapon more vertical, especially on a fusion rifle. Notice that we're sitting here at 94 recoil direction, allowing Merciless to have almost perfect vertical recoil. So is this fusion rifle looking to be the best fusion in Season of the Chosen? Well, I think it's going to get a hell of a lot better. I mean, just simply fixing this weapon and allowing its exotic perk to actually work the way it's supposed to is huge. If they actually give us an artifact mod that can be utilized with fusion rifles, big moves, Bungie. We've got them right now for our shotguns when it comes to stunning unstoppables. I don't know if they're going to do the same exact thing. They could do unstoppables again. They may even do it for overloads. Regardless, Merciless, I already think is really good inside of PvE when its perk is working as intended. As far as its capabilities inside of PvP though, I think it's going to be one of the best. The fact that this weapon can be put in my energy slot, I can still run around rocking a 120 round per minute hand cannon in my kinetic slot. Yes, it's an exotic, but for the most part, I'm constantly rocking True Prophecy anyways, which still has one more season left before it's sunset. Like, I don't see these vast improvements touching our other fusion rifles as heavily, at least our other exotics. Bastion is going to get an improvement, but not to the degree that Merciless is getting, considering its low or mediocre range stat. Now, granted, Bastion has a ton of damage, so it really doesn't matter, and in close range, Bastion is still going to be a monster. But as far as the fusion rifle, that's going to be the mid-range king. I think Merciless is positioned to benefit the most, and I'm actually leaning to take it even over our other legendary fusions. Now, honestly, this could be a perfect opportunity for Bungie to bring back Wisdom Rebuke. That's the Iron Bender fusion rifle. Like, I know everybody's tired of reissued. I get it. I understand. But hold up. Just think about this. Wisdom Rebuke, Iron Grip with scopes. You'll essentially get the best of both worlds. Increased zoom for that increase in range. And I know that doesn't make the biggest difference anymore because Bungie adjusted things. But normally scopes that are boosting zoom are also greatly boosting range. Simultaneously, you can roll it with something like Iron Grip, which substantially throws up stability. Oh, maybe then I would actually look to a legendary fusion rifle over Merciless. But if that doesn't happen, despite all the God Roll Glacial Chasms I've played with, despite Telesto being my baby, and a number of other fusion rifles that are really good, I still think Merciless is going to be the nastiest fusion rifle starting next week. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.